the idea of atheism and agnosticism, this is why I walked away from it years and years ago, because of the work of the Spirit of God in my life showed me that every single position that's held by atheists, skeptics, and agnostics intellectually is bankrupt, and if you're consistent with it, it leads to what's called nihilism, which is the idea that everything's just meaningless. There is no ultimate purpose to life, that I can create my purpose, and that purpose could be, I want to lay around in my own poop, or I can become a great college professor, I can become a humanitarian and help a lot of people, or I can become an axe murderer and kill a lot of people. There's no cosmic difference. And so with atheism and the conjunction of that with evolutionary theory, you can't trust your thoughts, you don't have a basis for logic, you don't have a transcendent moral obligation to be rational. I mean, have you ever thought about that? Why am I obligated to make sense when I'm talking to you? Well, the answer is because God exists. God tells us to love Him with our minds and to love our neighbors ourselves. We love our neighbors ourselves. We want to try to make sense to them when we speak to them. So God is the necessary precondition for making sense out of reality. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. We have to start with God to make sense out of our moral knowledge claims, to make sense out of moral reasoning, to make sense out of how we can know the difference between right and wrong. Why is murder wrong? Is it just because society says so? No, it's because there's a greater law that's above society that says you shall not murder.
Why is it difficult for you to accept that atheists have meaning, or that you can't have meaning unless it comes from some causality or some kind of God? I mean, why do you feel that way?
That's a good question. I appreciate you asking that question, and because it allows me to clarify. I'm not saying that you can't have meaning, and I'm not saying that you can't be a loving person or you can't be kind. You can be a real sweetheart of an individual, and I know many, all the guys that are in this group right now, we all have atheistic friends that we've had these conversations with, and they can be very sweet people, and we love them to death. We really do. We love them. What we're saying is you can't make sense out of love without God. We're not saying you can't be loving, but you can't justify it. You can't make sense out of it. You can't provide a grounding for love. You can't provide a grounding for meaning, because meaning is going to be in the eye of the beholder. It's going to change from person to person. The Bible's got a verse in it that says if God is not in the picture of your life, then everything's going to be meaningless. That's what the book of Ecclesiastes is about. That if you don't start with God in all of your thoughts, you're going to be left to absurdity, and that life is just going to be this, just like a dog dies, so dies the wise man, so dies the fool. It doesn't matter. We're all just dust in the wind, as the old Kansas song says. And so it's not that you can't have meaning. It's not that you can't construct meaning. No, you can. You can certainly do that. But if you're not ultimately grounding your meaning in God, it's just arbitrary and inconsistent.